Hey, I wanted to go over with you something I've talked with a couple clients about. We focused on processes. We have the process webinar, um, but just briefly, use this as an example, making a coffee process. What I did was write this down, and what I realized was there were a couple things missing. Okay, and the reason I'm saying this is, for any process, don't let it be overly daunting. Just start writing the things down that you do. But then once you've done that, review the process as if someone else was going to do it and see if you have any other things that you may have left out. So this is making coffee. You want to check the carafe, make sure the cap are empty and clean. Carafe is empty and the cap is clean and the carafe is clean, right? So we might want to reword that. Want to fill the carafe with water, grind the beans, clear the old filter, clean the funnel, place the beans in the filter, pour the water from the carafe um, into the reservoir, place it under the hot pad, set it to brew, push the button, and wait until it beeps. Sound okay? Depends on your craft, right? Also depends on whether you've had experience making coffee. So the first test, okay, think about anything you do, whether it's an intake process for a new client or customer, whether it's onboarding, whether it's sending a marketing email or posting to social media for your marketing team, or how we onboard or orient a new employee. Whatever it is you go ahead and write it down, but understand that the first iteration is probably not going to be complete. So if I go through this and actually think about, not even do it yet, but think about how I'm going to do it, I discover, whoops, that my coffee maker has a cap that screws on to the carafe. Okay, and if I left that off and somebody went and tried to do this, they poured the water in and then put the carafe under and then hit brew and walked away, that the coffee wouldn't go into the carafe. It would overflow from the filter and end up all over the counter. So that's a flaw in the process. Okay, that's if I gave it to somebody else and they did it and they followed the process, it would be a flaw in the process. Okay, not their performance necessarily. Now, there's another one. What if I give this to someone who's a novice who's never made coffee before and I tell them to grind the beans? Do they do three or do they do a half pound? Do they do 2 tablespoons? What do they do? How many? So I need to fix that in my process as well. So there are a couple, I've written it down, number one, then I look at it as if I'm going to do it, then I do it. So this is interesting to me in that in like a physical therapist practice, if I have an evaluation process, what I can do is take that written process in with me to the next patient, even though 20 years experience, and I'll say, hey, I'm going to walk through this and just use it and make sure everybody else is doing the same thing. I hope you don't mind. Is that okay with you? Whatever. And they can, if I get consent from the patient, then they see that we're trying to make things better. And I'm going to look at it and try to follow it step by step. What that's going to end up doing is reveal the things that I forgot to write down, reveal uh, things that maybe I don't do that I should, that I thought about, that I'm not in the habit of doing. It'll reveal a few holes in the process. So we go through and make any changes, make any edits there. Then I don't teach somebody else the process. Okay, then what I do is I give it to them cold and I ask them to follow it. And when I do that, it's again, if I'm watching them, going to reveal the holes, the flaws, the problems with the process. So I'm not trying to make it overly complicated. I'm simply trying to make it adequate so that someone else that I hand this off to is able to do it to the standards that we expect. Hope that's useful. Make any changes. Maybe you don't need a make coffee process, you're just going to do it. But for anything else that you're doing, especially if there are multiple people in your organization doing it, we want to start writing it down and getting some kind of consistency. And just a last thought about the consistency. Consistency is not meant to restrict. Consistency is meant to help everybody do the most effective things. So if we go through the process and let's say I think it's good and somebody else can follow it and it's all everything's cool there, if I'm sharing it with the other people who are doing it and they're starting to say, well, I like to do it this way or I do this, then we can add that to the process, or we can run the two side by side and test which one's more effective. Is it quicker? Is it more efficient? Is it a better experience for the customer or client. We not have to define what more effective means, but does it provide that? And if I'm really customer focused and it makes a better experience for my customer, maybe I'll do something that's not quite as efficient on my side if it's better for them. Anyway, there are trade-offs there. Showing it to multiple people, having multiple people do it can improve your processes, and then we learn from each other and can make it better and better for everybody, both in our company and the people that we work with from outside. Hope that's helpful. If there's anything I can do to help you, just reach out. You can get me at sturdymckee.com. Just jump over on the contact page. Thanks.